and welcome to another episode of Tribunal of the Grid, where we talk about all things Power Rangers, including the actors that play them. My name is Brandon.
My name is Lena.
And my name is Will.
And today we will not be talking about anything that is news related. We will not be talking about any shows. We actually
won't.
We won't. No.
Well,
we will not.
For us.
Surprise, surprise. Surprise, everybody. No, we actually had someone reach out. One of our listeners, Jen. She goes by Jen Heidier. I want to say JenHeidier. Excuse me. So yeah, she's on Instagram. But yeah, she reached out and was like, "Hey, I have an idea for an episode. Solicit hot takes from your listeners." And I was like, you know what? We talked about it, we deliberated in the chat, and we were like, you know what, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea for an episode.
Why not? Especially when nothing is really going on other than cosmic furry.
Cosmic furries. I didn't know that was a special niche. I didn't know. I didn't know that was a special thing.
Oh my God.
Cosmic furries, guys. So look out, y'all. Look out. We had dino furries before, and now we got cosmic, so watch out, world.
Oh, who let me up today? Jeez. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. But no, we talked about it and it was a good idea. And like she said, Cosmic Fury, we talked about that. That's not really, it's something, but it's not like, oh my God. It's just more of like, okay. So, we don't really have much to talk about in terms of like news or anything like that. So we're just like, you know what? Well, we want to give y'all something to watch, listen to, right? Something to watch. Oh my God, no. Something to listen to.
I guess they can watch our YouTube banner thing, but
girl, I got so confused. And I was like, give them something they can watch. What they gonna watch from me?
You know what's funny? Like, a lot of people always ask if we put our videos, our recording online on YouTube, and I'm like, no, it's just a poster that we slapped on top of our audio. They're like, well, you don't film yourselves? We're like, no.
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 That's creepy.
I know what it is. I think a lot of other podcasts do it. And for them, they have a cute little setup. They got their little mics going on. And they're not Will and I who fall asleep and stuff like that. So we can't be having that live.
Listen, I don't want nobody looking at me like that. What if the camera is all in my face and they see a bug up my nose or something? I don't want that. Just listen. It's okay.
Right? They don't need to see Will and I fall asleep. It's not needed.
They don't need to see it. They can hear it because
no, that's the magic of editing. They don't hear it.
Right. Unless it's a situation where it's happening while we're talking, then you can't really,
yeah,
can't really edit that out.
Yeah,
unless you take out the whole part. But
yes, well, sometimes I do, depending on how important it is. I'm like, that can be taken out.
Just depends.
It just depends.
But no,
we're
not talking about any sleeping or anybody's snoring habits on the show.
No,
but
fun fact though, I did fall asleep for 45 minutes during recording once. That was horrible.
Yeah, and we literally had to stop the entire show and was like, Lena, are you here? And she never answered. So we just started talking about Batwoman. And we're just like, okay, well, I guess we got to talk about something. And then finally she jumped in and was like, oh my God, I was asleep. And we're like, girl, we know.
45
knocked
minutes
out.
Knocked out. Oh my God.
So this is what we do, y'all. This is what we go through, okay?
So this is why we don't film ourselves. We just don't.
This is exactly why we don't film ourselves.
Yeah.
Just letting y'all know.
Good point.
Like the other podcasters, like they've been going hard. Okay, we're not that hard. We're not
that. No. That is the beauty of letting it play, and you don't see nobody's faces. Just listen, and that's it.
Yep.
That is all you get from us. Okay.
Right? Like, you know how much makeup we will have to invest in for us to look that good on camera every week? Gee.
Oh, God.
Not me, girl. Girl, I wake up like this. What you talking about?
Oh my God. Hashtag woke up like that.
Hashtag woke up like this. Okay. Period.
Oh my God.
Like, this face stay beat, honey. But no. No, literally, I will literally do my eyebrows work and then do like a light something from work and then literally fall asleep and my face literally is like still made up. So I've done that a couple times where I was just like, oh, look at that. And then just like get up and like go do something, like go in public with my
Oh my God. I know that because I have fake lashes. Like I have lash extensions. And the beauty of that, like I don't actually wear a lot of makeup anymore because, like why would you put makeup on top of your lash extension? That's just the reason why I don't like to do it, because then when you're rubbing it off, you're actually, like obviously rubbing against the lashes and therefore causing them to fall out a lot faster, right? But anywho, so I know the feeling. Wake up like this, I really look like I wake up and I look like I'm ready to go. Like, look at his face. Just gotta brush my teeth, then we're ready.
Just gotta brush my teeth. Just go ahead and go. So it happens. It happens sometimes.
It really does.
But no, listen, y'all. We are not going to talk about makeup tips. Even though that is a hot take by itself, but we will be talking about.
Oh my God!
Hot takes.
We can be talking about Power Rangers and makeup too. Like y'all already know. Ryder's gonna bring up Nakia's makeup and hair. So,
right.
So you know what? We can segue into that.
We actually can, even though that. Listen, that would be funny just to throw in a hot take of just Nakia talking about her makeup and hair. That is just the funniest thing. Sad but funny.
Yeah.
Because it's just y'all just really did her dirty. But
I mean, to be fair, I don't think they did Cassie's makeup any better either. They gave her the typical bubblegum oh, I'm Asian with pink ponies. Let me do some pink.
I mean, it looked better than her having a completely different skin tone on her face.
Oh, I mean, hey, that's fair. That's fair.
Because Nakia, I'm not gonna hold you. That first episode with when she first came, she was casket ready. We all know how I feel about that. Her looking like Michael Jackson. She just it was not a good look, okay? Ooh, child, why y'all did that to this girl? So, they kept doing her dirty. And they did Katie like that too. I was watching Time Force. And there's been a couple episodes where Katie looked great. I'm like, why does she look dead? Why did y'all just do these black women dirty? They really didn't start doing them good until literally until Shelby, until Camille.
Shelby. Yeah, the last time that we talked about this, I think I mentioned, this is why it's important to have either people of color in the makeup and hair departments or people that know how to do, various types of skin tones and hairstyle, hair textures.
Yeah.
Or else, like you said, you will have people looking like they're, as you said, casket ready. And that's ridiculous. Have a white face, face.
You have a whole gray face looking dead. And I'm just I just don't understand it. Now, I will say with Katie, I don't know. We have to ask her this. We really do have to ask Deborah. But was she wearing contacts? Because it looks like her eyes were green. And her eyes are not green in real life. So I think for the show they gave her contact. But I swear, like on certain parts, her eyes look green. And I'm like, that's interesting. I want to ask her if that's a thing. I don't know. But anywho.
Wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, yeah. I mean, because, you know, they probably were like, oh, they're from the future, you know, so, you know, let's make them, you know, have them have like some sort of different thing. Since she's the strong girl, so we might as well like make her also have like different color eyes. I don't know. Whatever their reasoning was. It still was cute. But nevertheless, but yeah, so we're going to be talking about hot takes today, as you have already imagined, because we're just spitting hot takes like crazy right now. So, you know, be prepared, just sit back, relax, and enjoy. It's going down. But quick story time though, y'all. So I changed my nose piercing, like I changed my nose ring. And so if it sounds like I'm just kind of wincing, it's literally because like every time I move it, because like, okay, so I had the hardest time trying to get this damn thing in. And I think I might have like cut the inside of my nose or something. So it feels like it's healing all over again.
Girl, I know, because changing nose ring is such a mission.
It's a mission.
And I swear, like, the more you poke at it, it's only making it worse.
Yes.
Yeah, like, girl, I know. I literally know.
It's terrible. I was like, oh my God. And then, like, I couldn't get it in originally.
I know.
And girl. And then, like, girl, because originally the nose ring I bought was too big for the hole.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
And literally, like, I couldn't get it through the hole. So, like, I had to go back and buy a smaller one, a thinner nose ring. And finally it went through, but I was poking at my nose so much that it felt like it was hurting. Like you said, like it started hurting more. So I'm just like, fuck, like this shit hurts. But it did go through easily. So like I went ahead and like bent it so that like now it's like it's closed and I don't have to worry about it like, you know, coming loose.
Wait, so where did you go? Because like I find that when you go to an actual tattoo parlor, they'll actually put it in for you for free.
Well, no, that's what I did. I went originally, but I guess the guy thought that I was just going to go ahead and just like, you know, go on about my day and do it at home.
Oh.
And like, I tried it at home and, you know, that's what happened. It just kind of was like,
yeah. No, so, I hate that.
Yeah, it was terrible. The pain was real. Well, it is real because I'm just still kind of like.
It is, honestly. And then I'm not sure if you've ever done this, but when you take it out, let's say for like a few hours up to date, the inside where it's moisture is actually closes up.
Yes.
So that's a whole mission in itself. Because I remember a couple times I had to take it out when I did background, which I also didn't understand. Like, I'm in background. Like, no one's gonna fucking see my nose. Like, no one's
gonna see my face.
I don't even know if I'm gonna make it into the final cut.
Exactly. Like, no one is gonna see my face. Hell, you may not even see me. You know, you might even see just like a shadow.
if that, you know. So like, I'm just like, well, I have to insert this. If y'all ever watched Dark Matter on Netflix, it's a Canadian show with some pretty good like actors and actresses on there. But anywho, season 2, episode 1, I think. I finally made it to a background scene, and I can see me there. And that's the scene they made me take out my nose ring for. And I spent all night trying to put it back on the moment I got home after like a 13-hour shoot. Even though I literally did nothing. I literally like walked around trying to pretend like I'm escaping prison. No, I'm kidding. I really was not. It was supposed to be a high security prison with all this high technology that I'm not supposed to be able to touch. But the point of the matter is that after shooting that and trying to put my nose ring back in, I cried trying to get the thing back in. It's a mission. So
it is. It is. It's a whole mission. And I'm just sitting there like, this is like my first and last time ever doing this. So just letting you know, if this thing falls out, it's just going to close. It's just going to have to close because I'm just like, not doing that again. So, so just letting the people know, like, if one day y'all randomly see me without a nose ring, just know, like, it fell out, and I just decided I'm not putting the ring back in. So, here's what it is. But speaking of it is what it is. So this past week, of course, as you know, when we air our episodes, we're not actually airing them. We're not talking literally. We record them first and then we post them on Wednesdays. But so the chat was cute on Wednesday. So definitely, if you want to listen live, just remember we always air live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you want to jump on YouTube and join the conversation, that is the perfect time because it was cute. It was given. George from oh my gosh, what is his Twitter? Hold on one second. Let me get his Twitter because I got to shout you out because you're freaking amazing. George Ranger Reviews. So it's Ranger Reviews. That's his @ handle. George and then Byron, of course. Byron joined us as well. Byron Weaver joined us, and we just had a wonderful time in the chat, just chatting and talking about the things that we talked about on the show. So, and we also talked about other things too. So, while the show was airing. So, if you want to join in, that is what it's there for. That is why we posted on YouTube. So for that exact reason. So definitely join the chat. It's a fun time. And yeah, you can just kick back and just shoot the shit with us. So yeah, it was a fun time. But also Byron did also leave some comments as well. He says, I love both Sentai seasons. The fan in me wants to see Q Ranger gets adapted, but logically I can see Hasbro picking Q Major being the 30th anniversary. So can I. That's the one I want personally. That's just me. And he says, I can come up with a way better title than Cosmic Fury in my sleep. And he lists Cosmic Alliance, Cosmic Spark, Cosmic Nebula, Cosmic Legacy. I would go with Cure Major as a sequel to Power Rangers Zeo. Listen, there are I'm pretty sure y'all can agree just by looking at the damn show. Just by looking at what we, the random different suits and stuff. You can see the suits are just freaking beautiful. I love the Cure suits, and it's a perfect thing if they want to introduce, George said in the chat. I remember this. He was we could explore that world of Zeo crystals from beyond the grid. And I'm that is a beautiful tie-in. That would be so freaking dope to literally explore that world and have that kind of be the reasoning of why, we now have these Zeo crystals in this world, and now these crystals actually have a thing to create their own team that basically uses Cure Major, so I would love to see that. That would be the most freaking coolest thing. But that's just me, and others agreed. So yeah, that's cool. That's fucking cool. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get right into it. But as a reminder, just letting everybody know, we are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, YouTube. We on all the places. So let's get right into it, okay? So, first of all, like I said before, this is the episode all about hot takes, right? We gonna go ahead and take two. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with these hot takes just so that we can go ahead and get the ball rolling. So Jen, because we're gonna start with Jen because she is the one who initiated the idea. So I'm yes, absolutely. Jen had this hot take for us. She says, let's see here. Most overrated blue of all time is Sky from SPD. Most underrated blue is Mike from Lightspeed Rescue.
Chad.
Chad. She means Chad. Chad. Great fighter, huge heart. So what do y'all think about that?
I think that Chad was extremely underutilized and underfocused. So it's hard for me to get on board with that and this is crazy because we were just talking about him last episode.
We did, yeah.
But he was a great fighter. Like to see those rare opportunities to have the unmoored fights and to know that it was him doing everything, that was so dope. But there wasn't enough focus for him for me to really take that. Like at least, somebody else that wasn't super utilized, like a Tanya, at least they did establish her character enough. A couple of times she got something, but like for him, like he really didn't get much outside of his relationship with Katie, which I loved, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I do honestly believe that, like, for sure, Chad was definitely underrated. I agree with her. My only thing though that I don't really agree with is Sky being overrated. I don't necessarily agree with that. Because I personally just feel like SPD is like kind of overrated in general.
Really?
I do. I genuinely do. I think that SPD is overrated in general. When people talk to me, when I notice people talking about SPD, and maybe you think differently, I don't know. But when I see people talk about SPD, they talk about it like it is literally the best thing since sliced bread, and it has no issues, no faults. And I'm like, literally, these Rangers are like hot. They're like hot and cold. Hot and cold. 1 minute they're cool, the next minute they are at each other's throats, and it's just like they're just so inconsistent. And I'm like, I know that y'all are probably trying to like, do this whole like they're trying to build themselves as a team, and they're trying to build this camaraderie and this relationship. I hear that, but you can't. But there's a difference between having them get faced with something, learn the lesson, and then be like, all right, cool. I'm still working on this kind of a thing, and make that plainly obvious that like, oh, I'm still working on the thing that I learned, rather than I just completely forgot every single thing that I learned, and we're back at square one. We're back at point A, even though I learned the lesson already. So, and I felt like SPD did that a lot, but also too, that just came from just them just not knowing how to write those characters, because like, it was obvious that 1 minute, it almost kind of felt like there were different writers writing the episode, and they weren't all in the writer's room. Like, it was just kind of like sending them through email, like, all right, so you got this one, you got this one, you got this one, kind of a thing. And that's how it felt. I'm not saying that's how they did it, but that's how it felt. Like, it really genuinely felt like no one talked about these characters, because they were just so all over the place. But me in general, like, I love SPD. I think that SPD is a great series, but I do feel like sometimes people overhype it way more than what it deserves to be. That's just my personal take. But yeah, Sky in general being an overhyped Blue Ranger, or being the most overhyped Blue Ranger, I don't necessarily see that. Like, what do you think, Lena? Do you agree with her hot take? What's T?
I do, actually. I do. Because like, you know what? At the end of the day, I feel like it depends, exactly like what you're saying with SPD. It depends on who you ask. You get one or the other, And at the end of the day, I can see her like opinion in it. I don't necessarily like
I don't know. Like, for me, I still like, I can think of plenty of overhyped Blue Rangers. that aren't Sky. Like I could definitely think of other Blue Rangers other than like Sky that are completely overhyped. Now I will say, we talked about this in the chat while the show was airing last week, and I'm not gonna hold you. One thing that I will agree with, because they were talking about rewatching shows. We were talking about rewatching shows and, you know, having different opinions and different thoughts than how we saw it before, how we reviewed it years ago. And we were like, we were talking about SPD and in the chat, and they were like, and I believe it was Byron, I want to say. No, was it Byron or George? I think it was George. He was just like, ooh, SPD did not age well. Because
propaganda.
Yeah, that and also like Sky was very misogynistic.
Yeah.
And kind of borderline racist. So it was just kind of like
and that's the thing, and that's why like and that's why like in a way I do agree with Jen now, because I genuinely love Sky. Like I love SPD. And but now that we're talking about it, obviously we're older now. I'm like, yeah, I can see that. Do I want to admit it? Not necessarily.
And see, that's exactly, and that's the thing. A lot of times people will, you know, like they'll be like, oh, well, you know, this was a show of different times. And yes, like I agree. Like it was in a different time. You know, there were certain things that happened that happen on different shows in different seasons that wouldn't be able to fly now. You know, so it makes sense for us to be able to be like, yeah, this didn't age well. You know, like you know, so but like, at the time when we were watching it, it worked.
Exactly. And that's just it, right? Because at the time leading up to today, I still really like SPD and I still like Sky's character, you know? So, but like, I don't disagree with what Jen is saying either, because she's not wrong. She's not wrong at all. It's just, I can see and I can understand it. But I don't have an argument against it because it's not a bad, it's not a wrong hot take, essentially.
No, we're not saying it's wrong. Like, whether if you agree or
but that's what I
don't know for this.
Like, I don't have an argument against it. Like I think that's what I mean. When I say wrong or right, where like you know how we can disagree. I'm like, well, we feel like that's wrong because X, Y, and Z. But it's like I don't even have that argument. Like I'm like, she's not wrong, but I still really like SPD.
I'm far removed from SPD because I haven't watched it since I want to say 2014.
Oh.
And there's a lot of growth from being a 24-year-old to being a 32-year-old. So I'm in a different place now than I was back then. So I'm sure watching it again, I'll have different thoughts. Yeah. It'll be a different experience. Yeah.
Oh, heck yeah.
I wasn't aware of him Sky being a popular Blue Ranger to the point of people overrating him. I know that a lot of people loved the Reflection episode, so maybe that's what she's basing it on.
Yeah. I agree.
But
I agree.
I guess when you factor in, you know, the negatives of Sky's character, maybe that's what she's basing it off of. And in hearing about, I can understand that where she's coming from, you know, hearing about the negatives of that character and how like badly it's aged. But
no, it's terrible. It's awful. You know, and that's why I'm like, honestly, and like and that's why I say it's like a show of the times, because honestly, I can like from a writing standpoint and from like a storytelling standpoint, I get it. You know what I'm saying? I kind of get it. I kind of understand it. You know, because they painted Sky very early on as this man needs a lot of fucking work. Like he is a piece of work. He's terrible. Like he treats Sid like, she's just like some random chick on the street. Like she's not a teammate. Like she's nowhere close to being as good as him. When honestly, I feel like Sid was way better than him. So there was a lot of like He-Man woman hating coming from him. And it was just like the way he treated Jack, it was like, not only are you treating him bad because he was better for the position that you wanted. And for the simple fact that there was a classism issue. Like he felt like, oh, he's from the streets, he's poor, like he can't be better than me, kind of a thing. And it's like, well, this dude beat your ass like twice. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel like many times, not just twice. Like I feel like twice is what was quote unquote recorded or shown. But I feel like there's many more times. Like this guy just had way too much of an ego.
Yeah, exactly. Like exactly. He had the biggest ego and didn't have the qualifications to back it up.
Nope.
Like it was just this privilege that he felt like he needed to have.
Not even just that, but it was like the privileged entitlement because his dad was like the Red Ranger. So he felt like he earned it because his dad earned it.
Because of his dad.
Oh my God. Like
that's real world shit, child. That's real world stuff.
Yeah. That's actually, now that you're saying that is a great point. It's very real world because nepotism is a hell of a thing in real life. So it's real. I think it's kind of it's good that they explored that.
Yeah.
I just gotta watch it back now just to see like how that all came together. But I look forward to it at some point. But that is very cool. That they did something like that.
Yeah. Yes. And I think that's why the reflection episode stood so strong because it was literally him coming around as a character to kind of realize that like he's not the shit. Yeah. He makes mistake and the mistake he makes actually put everyone in jeopardy, and
right.
The fact that like he acknowledged, and it was good. It was good for character building, obviously, right? I think that's the reason why, like, because I remember the whole season, even though we all know that Chris Violet, it's
Violetti
is really good looking in real life, and that's probably why he was like, like everyone really liked him, but everyone else, I always thought he was such a dick. I was like, you are such a dick. But then that episode really won me over.
Well, here's the thing. And I think that the reason why Chris was even cast to begin with, because like, let's be very clear.
He's
like
so
you said,
similar.
The man is gorgeous. Like he's gorgeous, but he has that all-American look. And for the character that he played, like it is perfect. Like it is like they cast him perfectly because he has the look of someone, of a white privileged guy who like his dad could give him anything he wanted and he could just go in and just be like, oh, I deserve this because of who my dad is. Like he has that look. Not saying that that's who he is, but he has that look.
Yes.
Of like this, or portraying this is that kind of person.
Absolutely.
And he sold it so well.
So well.
So like I'm like, oh, I could see how people could, easily be like, ugh, because like I'm not gonna hold you. Like even going back and even thinking about his character, because I still have to go back and watch it myself. So when Will, you're like, oh, I might go back and watch it. Me too, child, because I'm like, ooh, child, but also too, I don't want to be triggered. But like I could see, I like just from the things I remember, I could see, people being like, "Ooh, this isn't good," because like we've changed as a society so much, and we didn't have the language to be able to articulate, how his character really is being.
Yeah.
And, it's like, we just thought, oh, he's a dick. But now we know it's like, oh no, like they were actual real issues, like legit real world issues that he was legit trying to portray in this character, where it was like, oh my God, he's a terrible human being. Like, he's awful. But he learned. He learned, from his mistakes. But it's just like, he originally was a terrible person.
Yeah. And like, I think everything about SPD, I think one of the reasons why for me it's just so high on my list too, is that what you've been saying, it's been dealing with a lot of real world issues, like real shit. Like, like some of the stuff they were talking about, like obviously us dealing with the battle of homelessness. That's a real thing.
Right.
Like,
that's a real thing.
It still is, especially now more than ever after the pandemic, all of us losing our jobs. So it's like, it's been, it's definitely ahead of its time in this sense that, like, I know a lot of people felt like it didn't age well, but in a way it still did actually. Now that we're dissecting it, it's still issues that we're dealing with today. And it still brings back a lot of triggers that we're still dealing with till this day. And actually even now more so, especially with I hate to say it, but with America going backwards on a lot of things in life. Like, I like the other day I remember I was talking about, like before the abortion was made legal in a lot of different states, I was like upset about it, right? And someone said to me, well, why does it affect you? You're a Canadian. And I looked at them and I was like, excuse you? How does this affect me? You are attacking women. What the fuck am I? What do I identify with?
Right.
I'm a woman. And for you to take away rights that we as a sex have fought so hard to gain, like we're still not getting paid equal rights, equal pay at workplaces. We're still not being viewed the way that a man would be viewed. Like, so there's so many things that we're still fighting till this day to have equal rights on. And we're still not even there. We're still far from it. And then to have this be like, oh, we're going to take away abortion. You don't have the right to choose anymore. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
That is an attack on the whole sex of as itself, And I kind of go back to like, like the whole racism thing, like with the whole Black Lives Matter movement and obviously the anti-hate, like Asian crime. Like, how does that affect me? Even when it was before the whole Asian thing with the Black Lives Matters, like I was like, it affects me because I'm a person of color. It doesn't, like I've obviously I'm not going through the exact same things that the Black community went through. And my ancestry never kind of went through that same thing, but it's still an attack on race. And I am a person of color. So like, I feel like that's an attack on me too.
Absolutely. And the thing is, it's like, it's good that you say that, because to me, it feels like, and I'm sure Will can also, chime in on this as well. But when people just literally sit back and idly just be like, it's not dealing with me. This is between
That's
them.
Exactly
and,
what I was thinking of.
Like, this is between them. It's all good. Like, I'm over here. And it's just like, what you don't understand, and this is what I try to tell people all the time. It's like, yeah, we're going through it. We've been going through it for over 400 years. Like, this is something that is just been passed down over and over and over and over and over. But what y'all don't understand is that the same way it's happening to us, it could easily happen to you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Easily.
Exactly.
With no problem. It could easily happen to you.
Exactly. And then look what happened. And so it's just really like goes to show you that you need to understand that if you are not white, I'm sorry, and if you're not a man, it could easily happen to you.
It can, and we learned that. The women of the United States learned that a couple of days ago. Like, they learned it.
Yes.
It's like, you see how easily the tables can turn? Like, it's like,
yep.
It's crazy. And it's just like, we have to always remember that basic human rights is not something that should be just like, oh, well, you can this is something that you're entitled, like basic human rights are something that you're entitled to, not something that can just be like, oh, you can just get this out of privilege. No, basic human rights are something that you're entitled to automatically.
Exactly.
And I feel like there shouldn't be so many opinions on someone's basic human rights.
No.
Like the fact that there are, like, we're going to vote for this, like in the upcoming election as far as women's productive rights. And it's like, it's so crazy that men will have the opportunity to say what women can and cannot do.
Yeah.
And there will be men that are going to vote against it. And that's just so crazy. And then, outside of this situation, when it comes to, oh my God, marriage rights, rights for LGBTQ people, just so many different things. The stuff with like healthcare and stuff, the fact that there's ever a time where people are saying, oh, well, yeah, you don't really deserve that, or you shouldn't have these things for whatever reason. And it's like basic stuff that a human should just have.
Exactly.
Like, I don't understand how just the lack of empathy for your fellow human beings is just horrible.
Yeah.
And I love that when you were saying what you were saying about the guy that was asking you, why do you care? Like, you're not an American. It's not happening to you. And then, like, I was thinking exactly what Brandon said. Like, it should always, you should always be worried about your fellow human being. Because, like, as cliched as it sounds, once we all actually are united, like, there's so much that can happen, so much positive that can happen. But human beings are so stupid that they just let their little biases and stuff get in the way, and then we just stay where we are. And it's just,
no, exactly. And it just frustrates me so much, like, especially with everything that's gone on since like 2020, where people are like, why are you affected? Because I'm not gonna lie, I am from Canada, and I'm in a great place where everything that's happening in America right now, I can honestly say I am extremely blessed that I don't have to deal with it. I don't have to physically see this in my face. Like, I don't actually have to see the next human being next to me being attacked because they're Asian or being attacked because they're Black. And like, my friend was telling me, like, my sister was telling me she had a client where I think it was Florida, and they were Canadians. They moved down there for work, and they had a neighbor that was Black. And he didn't have a car. So they would take him, they would invite him to go grocery shopping with them whenever they would go. And they kept getting pulled over by the cops and having the cops asking them, because they were a white couple. Sorry, I forgot to preset that. Being like, is this man holding you against your free will? And they're like, no, he's our friend. We're just taking him to the grocery store with us. Like, he's our neighbor. And it got to a point where it was so bad that they kept getting pulled over, that he actually rode in the trunk there and back. And I thought to myself, like, that is the saddest thing I'm hearing right now. Well, obviously not the saddest thing. There's much more sadder things out there, but it's just like, it's just so crazy. And obviously this is happening to like a white couple that's Canadian. And I know they're white. I get that, right? But the fact that they're from Canada, they're like, this does not happen in Canada. Like, yes, it still happens to a certain extent, but it doesn't happen as bad. Like, you don't get stopped because you happen to be Black, or like, or you're riding a car with a Black guy or a Black woman, and you're like, oh, are you being held against? No, absolutely not. That's not a thing that happens here, like, often, if at all. Obviously I can't speak for the rest of the country, but from the cities I'm living in, like that does not happen.
Yeah.
It's not.
And I mean, and the gag is, it's bad when other countries literally start literally start saying certain things in our country that we have, like, for example, Australia, where like they deem the Proud Boys as white supremacists, as terrorists. And it's like, yes.
Finally.
But we literally have like mugs in our higher ups who are literally a part of these things, who are in government, who are, who are making decisions, and they are a part of these things. We have people who are legit white nationalists, who are legit white supremacists, who are in our police force, who are in these things, and they found ways to work their way in. And it's like, this is why this stuff happens. And also it's like, they'll do things and it's like, okay, so I can get away with it because not only do I have the law on my side as a policeman, because of course the police are not there to protect and serve. That is not their job. Like, I just want to let the people know that is not the police job. I know we are trained to think that the police is there to protect us, but they're not. Like, they are literally there to like do a specific job, which is just basically be the people of the law, and that's it. But they're not there to protect us.
Nope.
So that is actually a real thing. Y'all can look that up. But the reason why I say this is that they can literally do whatever they want to do and then get off scot-free because they know, A, the law is on their side, and B, the person next to them is just like them. The people who are in the decision making literally are like, hey, yeah, we can kind of, I can scratch your back if you scratch mine, and I can get this wiped off. And that's why we see so many times that, people of color get killed and there's no punishment, because it's just like, oh, well, all I had to do is just be like, oh, well, he looked like he had a gun. Case closed. End of story. It's literally that simple. So there's a lot of things that need to be worked on in this country, especially when it comes to law enforcement. And I feel like that's the reason why SPD was able to like come out when it did. Yeah. Because it didn't really have that negative connotation of the police hovering over it like it does now. And I feel like that's the argument of, everybody not of like, the people of Hasbro now and, the producers and everybody not using Lupin versus Pat. I feel like that's the reason why they don't want to use it, because of these connotations, because of these negative things, because the gag is, this isn't just in like a closed off situation. Like, literally the world is watching. The world is watching. So if literally you got Simon Bennett all the way over in New Zealand with the producers and everybody making these decisions and looking at us being like, this is an American show, but with the climate of America right now, we probably shouldn't be doing this. Yo, I'm sorry, but I know that's your favorite season, but also you got to use common sense. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I know y'all probably are not going to like me saying that, but, and I'm not, like, the whole conversation of like, oh, well, they can just switch it. They can just have them being like in an academy. That's not the point. That's not the point, y'all, because this show, no matter how you spin it, their suits are literal police uniforms. Like, they literally looked like policemen. So, and the other team they're in like freaking tuxedos, like Lupin, who is a thief. So there's no way you can spin that. Like, y'all can try, but it's still going to have that undertone. So, of course, they don't want to use that. And I understand them for not wanting to do it. So I'm sorry, but, it's a sign of the times. Like, I understand this is your favorite season, but you got to, that's that for that. I know we took a little bit of time. I told y'all we can talk. But But yeah, we're just gonna move on to the next hot take here. So Nandita, aka Tweez Girl on Instagram, send us this hot take for us. Sending this hot take. She said, so I see a lot of people saying that Power Rangers will never reach the level of popularity of franchises like Marvel or DC, but I think it does have potential to be that good, and it's okay if it doesn't. I just think that we gotta be open-minded and trust the process and Hasbro. I agree.
I agree. I honestly agree. I mean, okay, hold up. I feel that low-key, the universe of Marvel and DC likes Power Rangers, but they're too afraid to admit it right now. Like, I remember y'all sent me the clip of the Flash basically ripping off Power Rangers. Like, what?
Oh my god!
Can we please talk about that?
Let's get into it because I'm gonna tell you right now.
They teleported.
They literally teleported, and not only that, and I said this in our group chat. Like, Fast Track's costume is literally a Power Rangers uniform. Like, it is literally a Power Rangers outfit. I'm just like, what is happening? Like, even Reverse Flash's Thawns, his little black armored little thing, it looked like something from the recent 2017 Power Rangers movie. It really did. And I'm just like, what is happening? Like, why is this show slowly becoming a ripoff of Power Rangers? Like, what is going on? What is happening? But no, I agree with this. I felt this in my Shondo. Like, I agree with that 100%. Like, I do believe that the show's popularity could most certainly get up to the level of Marvel and DC's. But like I've said this before many times on our show, and for those of the listeners who haven't heard me say this before, but we've had, like, Hasbro is treating Power Rangers right now like an emerging brand, and in every sense of the word, we still are an emerging brand, and the reason why is because literally, I'm pretty sure there's many factors as of why, but I do personally feel like one of the main reasons why is because Saban played it safe. He played it safe through every aspect. There was never any real growth in the show at all. I'm mainly speaking before he sold it to Disney the first time. It was just basically, we're just gonna keep.
Which him selling it to Disney was a mistake, but it was like a good mistake for us.
Well, yeah, it was a great mistake for us. I mean, yes. But before he even sold it, like, he wasn't doing anything with it. It was just the same thing every single year. There was no buildup. There was nothing special. There was nothing added to it. There was just nothing. It was just the same thing every single year. And I really feel like he played it extremely safe. The main thing that I do feel like a lot of people give credence to, with the Saban era, especially after, like, I guess post Zordon, with like your Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue, etc. I do feel like a lot of people like to throw flowers at that around those times is because the stories got a lot more, like, they started to age along with the viewers. So we started to deal with more things like death. We started to deal with more things like heartache and, things of that nature, and losing people and, stuff like that. We started to deal with more heavier things. But that doesn't always, the material is good, but in terms of the brand itself, it was stagnant, and it stayed that way. Like, the main thing that really saved Power Rangers really was the In Space finale, Countdown to Destruction. Like, that's what really rejuvenated the brand and kept it afloat. But other than that, it was just like, we just got to that place of just like, in terms of just developing the brand as a whole, it just kind of felt like we just got to a certain point and we just stopped. And we've stayed there for all these years. So, we can't, like, I would love to see, I agree with Tweez Girl. I would love to see Power Rangers be up to a level of like DC and Marvel. I would love that. But we got, like she said, or like they said, we have to remain patient and allow Hasbro to do what they're going to do and hope that they actually can, make this brand come from being an emerging brand and actually turn it into a brand that is like on that level, but we have a lot of work to do. Like, they have a lot of work to do. So yeah, like, I agree.
Yeah, it's gonna take time, and it's hopefully they have, I hope that they oh my goodness, promotion. Like, I hope that they promote it well, and just get they're willing to take the risk, because like they obviously they spent a lot of money on this, so they see something in it. Like, this franchise has been around for a while, so and they know about the dedicated fan base. So I hope that they promote the hell out of it, and they really do like put as much effort as they can, because that's the only way that things are really going to pop off again.
Well, I totally agree with you. That, and I feel that if they hire known actors and actresses to promote, like, to obviously be in the show and to promote the show, I feel like that also will help too. Like, for example, if the 2017 movie actually got a second sequel, and like, look how big everyone has gotten, that I feel like, especially between Dagger and Naomi Scott alone, them two, even Becky, I like, Becky, like, and RJ, like, holy crap, all their careers literally took off, and Ludi too, right? But like, Ludi's like, like, a lot of people don't recognize like him being an Aquaman, but no one realized that was him. That kind of shitty. But point of the matter is that if they brought that cast back and did a sequel, because like technically they can do it. They can. They still look really young. They all still look really young. So I feel that having like anybody with a huge following and a huge support base like Dagger, like Naomi, like Becky, and RJ and Ludi, they can actually make this even bigger than it was. Like, look at Squid Game, for example. A lot of people didn't realize this, but Squid Game actually has a lot of big time actors and actresses in it. All of these people were already well established before they were even in Squid Game. And the fact that they had so many people promoting it, and like obviously the actress and actresses that with a big following, it blew the frick up on Squid Game.
Yeah.
And Squid Game, to be completely frank with you all, I only watched it because it was recommended to me because I saw Alice in Borderland. That was the original Squid Game, not Squid Game. Like, that was the original Squid Game. When I saw that, it was like basically like Squid Game, but they weren't chosen to be in the game. Like, the game itself chose them. So basically in Japan, they locked down Japan from what I could tell, because season 2 is yet to come. And then the game itself forced everyone to play the game. And if you don't play the game, they'll just laser you to death from the sky. Like, I don't know how they know. They just know, right? And then they give you like a time frame. So like, you have to participate. And obviously in the game, you'll essentially die. And if you don't, you move on. But when you move on, you have a certain amount of hours till your next game. And you have to complete a certain amount of games in order to be able to live. So like, I think you're supposed to complete like 2-3 games and you have to survive. And you have an extra day of like 2 extra day of like, okay, now you can live and you don't have to play games. But now you're on your last day, you have to play the games in order to stay alive. If you choose not to play, it'll just laser you to death. We don't know whom is lasering you to death because we haven't gone that far in the season yet. But we discovered that like essentially they are on this island and the entire island of Japan is in this game, whether or not they choose not to be. And they don't have a choice. But Squid Game is similar to that because you get to choose to be in the game to make quote unquote money, but these guys are not even fighting for money, they're fighting for their lives. And that's like way more intense. So Squid Game was introduced to me because it was recommended to me on Netflix, being like, hey, since you watched Alice in Borderland, and literally said that, you might like Squid Game. So when Squid Game was introduced, I was like, oh, okay, let me check this out, because I did like Alice in Borderland, right? When I watched it, I killed it in one sit because it was like very similar to Alice in Borderland. I was like, this is good. And next thing you know, by day 5, it blew up. And I'm like, what the heck? When did it become such a big show? And it dawned on me, because I did recognize a lot of people from Squid Game. Like, whoa, I like this actor. He's in it. He's in it. He's in it. He's in it. Oh my God, so many people are in it. Like, this is ridiculous, right? And that's how Squid Game actually came as big as they did. It was because it had the cast itself had a huge following. And all it took was some with social media these days, right? Like, social media is a big thing. And they blew it up and it just became a big thing. So my belief is that if they have a good cast or a big cast, like with, like a known cast, they can also blow it up just as well. Like, or they can actually hire a bunch of like, newers, right? But like, then it kind of goes back to what the normal franchise does too, is that they hire a lot of like people that are new to their career, right? Or haven't really established themselves, right? So it kind of goes, Like, I like how when Disney bought it, they hired a bunch of people that were they mixed it up. They mixed it up by hiring people that we recognize and people we didn't recognize, right? So like Rose McIver, she's been acting since day 1. We already know that. She was in Xena as a little girl, So that blew her season up, I feel. And then they had Brennan McLaren, who was just starting off his career, like he was in She's the Man and a bunch of other stuff, right? So I think like hiring people that have even like just are starting the career or new to the career or already had a stuff like, like under the belt is also good. But having like someone big, I feel like it's going to blow it up majorly. Like, look at the cast of like Marvel. Like, a lot of these guys were like well established when they got higher. Oh yeah. Sorry, that was a really long like.
No, and like I agree, and like I agree with that, because it's like, I would love to see not just unknowns be in the show, because I'm not gonna hold you. What's the brother from Stranger Things? The little the boy, the black guy,
the black guy.
Yes, Lucas. I could see him being on a little piece of Power Rangers.
Yes,
I could see it. Like, I could see him doing it. Like, there's just like the show doesn't necessarily have to be, like you said, like, just like randos. Like, and I'm not, that's a really terrible thing to say, but like very green people. You can have people who are established and stuff like that. And I would love to see those type of actors enter in this space, not just as like mentors, like how we had with the 2017 movie with Zordon, with Bryan Cranston. I would love to see actual known people be Rangers. Like, I would love that. And I do believe that this show has the potential to get there. It has the potential. It really does.
It truly does.
And I'm just like, exactly. And I'm just like, at the end of the day, we have to allow Hasbro to do what they're going to do. And I feel like they're putting little things in place.
Yep.
And like, for example, this is just me, and I'm known for, I am the conspiracy theorist of all conspiracy theorists. Okay. Like I will start piecing stuff together. Like, what is this kind of a thing? Like, I am a firm believer that Hasbro is like, look, we playing with all type of characterizations, because when we really kick it off and we really start, bringing in new universes and all of that, you bet your ass there's going to be all types of characters in this show. And that's why I really do believe that they made Izzy such a huge thing in Power Rangers Dino Fury. With her being, of the LGBT community, having a girlfriend, and all of that stuff. Like, I feel like that's the reason why. And that's the reason why the comics are doing what they're doing. you know, with having non-binary characters and, you know, and showing so many queer relationships and all this stuff. Like, I feel like this is the road we're heading towards, especially in this new universe that Jonathan Entwistle is going to be spearheading. Like, there is going to be a lot of stuff like this in this brand new universe.
Changes, which is great.
A lot of changes.
Like, you know what? All of us need a hero. All of us need a hero to look up to. And
Agreed.
I'm glad that they're recognizing it and they're giving it to all the little boys and girls and non-binary or whoever you want to be when you have come to terms with who you are as a person. You all need a hero.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's the point. You know, it's like you said, it's all about representation. It really is. And, you know, for so long, all we've seen is just the same type of characters over and over and over and over and over.
Black and white characters.
Yeah, and we had to make it up for ourselves, you know, and just, you know, now we had all this headcanon of, you know, basically being like Tommy and Jason were the real Power Rangers couple, not Tommy and Kimberly, you know, like having all this headcanon because like we literally, and a lot of that stuff was just joking, obviously, but, you know, for many of us, we didn't necessarily have those types of relationships to see in the show. And as children, and the thing is, what's so odd is that so many times, and I know I hear it all the time, the argument of, oh, well, you know, you shouldn't be showing kids this kind of stuff. And it's like, what, showing kids people living? Showing kids that people exist? You know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm confused. So you're basically saying we shouldn't be showing kids that people exist. Like, and the sad part is the whole connotation of anything queer, anything LGBTQ is automatically linked to sex. And that's where the problem is. It's not that like all this stuff is linked to sex. What it really is, the problem is with you. The problem starts with you. You all automatically in your head, you think that anything that is LGBTQ automatically, oh my God, my child shouldn't see this because it's something, it's derogatory, it's this, it's that. And it's like, the connotation and the spin that you're putting on it, 9 times out of 10, if I was to quiz you on it or to ask you what the issue is, you're going to link it to sex. You're going to link it to some kind of sexual deviancy. And that has nothing to do with it. Literally, people expressing love or expressing how they feel or how they want to be in their being amongst the world, that has nothing to do with sex. You know, like it's this weird binary thought, this weird black and white idea that these things are, that in order to say these things, this is what it's automatically linked to. Like heterosexuality, you know, isn't always thrown in our faces, and there's no sexual undertones with that. We've seen that plenty of times in Power Rangers. Hello, Jen and Wes. Because the way Wes and Jen was looking at each other all in their eyes, like they just wanted to hop on each other and suck each other's faces off. Like, I just got finished watching Time Force, and there's been plenty of occasions where Wes and Jen was looking at each other like, I just want to rip your clothes off and just jump on you. So you mean to tell me that, oh, it's okay for me to see that as long as it's a man and a woman, but I can't even see Izzy hold her girlfriend's hand because oh, this is too bad, oh my God, fuck out of here. Like, plain and simple, fuck out of here. So I would just love to see, you know, this brand new universe and just all of these things in there, because that's what Marvel and DC are doing. You know, they've been showing us all these characters and giving us all this stuff. They've been doing it, you know, and, you know, I would love to see us get to a point where we could have the same type of production, same type of characters, same type of, you know, all this stuff. Like I said, we just have to let Hasbro just do what they're going to do. We just have to let them, you know, and stop trying to, you know, be so judgmental right out the gate because we're so afraid that, oh my God, it's going to change so much to the point where I'm not even going to recognize the show I love. And that's really what it boils down to. People are afraid of change. Like, you can go on Twitter right now and you will see mad tweets of people just tweeting, oh my God, I'm so, like, basically saying, I'm so afraid of what Hasbro is going to do with this brand new Power Rangers universe. Because there's so much anxiety over, oh my God, this is going to change and I'm not even going to recognize it. They're going to take Sentai away, which they never said. They're going to take Sentai away. Toei is going to split from Hasbro and all. It's like, none of this stuff was confirmed. Y'all took one thing from a source that has been proven wrong many times. Y'all took it and you ran with it. And it's like, you're creating unnecessary anxiety all because Hasbro just decided to be silent. And now it's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to think. It's like, come on, y'all. Like, let Hasbro do what they're going to do. But I 100% agree with Tweez Girl. I want it to be at some point just like cream of the crop, top tier entertainment. I agree. Next hot topic here comes from our girl Violet Rangers. I would love to hear y'all thoughts on this. She says, I like Ashley better in Turbo. She was reduced to a love interest in space and didn't get much to do outside of doing Andros. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, she's not lying.
She's not lying, but in all fairness, I personally had the biggest crush on Andros, and I can kind of see why she want to be doing Andros all the time. Just saying. Just saying. I mean, he's an alien after all. Who knows what freaky things he's bringing up?
Well, his telekinesis, he probably can do something.
Right? Like, all I'm saying is that we don't know what we're missing yet, okay? Ashley knows what's up. She knows what's up, okay? So I can understand why she's like, Andros, like, I'm just saying, girl, you can't knock it till you try it. So yeah. In Turbo, she's like, I didn't have Andros. Like, hello, like I had to distract myself from the fact that I can't be having amazing sex. So, just saying.
Well, I thought that in Turbo she got to be more of her own person.
Yes,
like I loved obviously the episode where she took the auto shop class to prove to her dad
hands down one of her best episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down her best episode.
To her dad that girls could do stuff with cars. So something like that, and then she had the like a dancing episode. Like it seemed like there was just more of her establishing who Ashley was in comparison to in space, where she's just fawning over Andros, and then eventually they do get together and they're a couple on the ship. But I think that in space it didn't give the most focus to too many people outside of Andros and who else?
Zane and Karan. Yeah.
Because the other ones kind of took a back seat a bit.
The Earth team took a major backseat in Power Rangers in Space. Like, they all didn't really have anything to do. Honestly, I will honestly say that the person who got a lot to do in Space was Carlos. To be 100%, it's Carlos. Like, Carlos was the only Earth member who got a lot to do.
Giving up and constantly giving up.
No, that was literally his storyline in Space. Like, every episode that was about him, he gave up. He gave up in something. And it's just like, God damn, dude. Like Jesus, like, you stay giving up all the time. Like, good grief, boy. He is the biggest quitter. Like, dang. But, I don't know. Like, I agree with that 100%. I really do. And honestly, I'm even going to take it a step further. To be truthfully honest, the Earth team was better in Turbo than in Space. Personally, my opinion. They, as characters, they were 10 times better in Turbo than they were in Space. I know fans are like, oh my God, in Space is like the best season ever. That is untrue. That is untrue. But hear me out. Hear me out when I say this. In Turbo, they had a lot more time to flesh out these characters because Turbo was basically in a season where everything was one-offs. Everything was episodic. So there was no connective tissue. There was no overarching story. There was none of that in the second half of Turbo. So literally, they could be stuck in a pizza one day and lose their Megazord the next. You know what I'm saying? Like there was no storyline for Turbo. So when In Space happened, literally, this was a whole saga from beginning to end. Like it told an overarching complete story. So there wasn't enough time to throw in an episode of the day, kind of a situation. In Space was very tight. It was a very tight series where literally the characters may have gotten maybe 1 or 2 episodes max about themselves. Maybe. I mean, that's a strong maybe because, like, literally, a lot of times the characters were sharing episodes with Andros. So they really didn't even have episodes about themselves because they were literally, like sharing an episode with him, which his thing was always about finding Karan or trying to save Karan. So there really wasn't an episode where it was just basically completely about them. So, at the end of the day, it's like, if you're looking for character development, I would most certainly say when they were in Turbo, that's when they shined. Like the characters shined in Turbo. Whereas in Space, they got some cool things to do. Like one of my favorite things in Space was most certainly TJ, being able to outsmart Psycho Blue. That was probably one of the most highlight moments of In Space for me. But like TJ as a character shined the best in Turbo because we were able to see him be a leader. We were able to see him, command the team, be the only leader. He wasn't trying to share space with Andros. Like, he was literally the leader. He fought a monster on top of the Megazord, kicked it off the Megazord, and then dropped a freaking battery pack on his ass.
So
and cool. Killed him.
I loved it. That was so cool.
That was one of the most badassest fights ever. Like, and it belonged to TJ of all freaking people. So it's like,
I mean, he was a leader.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I mean, it belonged to the first black leader of the Power Rangers is my point. Like TJ was the shit, and people don't give TJ enough credit. And it's like TJ showed just how badass he was in Turbo versus in Space, where he took the back seat. But people will swear up and down, oh my God, TJ was so fantastic. And it's like he only had one time to show it. Like he really didn't show how badass he was in Space because the story was all about Andros. So, you basically had to filter in their various character stuff from Turbo in Space wherever they could put it. So it was very, unfortunate to be an Earthborn Ranger in Power Rangers in Space because you really didn't get to do shit versus Andros, Zane, and Karan. The story wasn't about them. So, poor Ashley, she was reduced to just being a love interest, whereas she was, a fashionista and, she was
too, yeah.
Yeah, she was a fashionista. She was a cheerleader. She,
Damn, that too. I forgot about that too.
Okay, exactly. Homegirl had all this going for her just to be reduced to Andros's love girl. Like, yeah, like it's unfortunate. And all of them had that happen to them, unfortunately. So I will say that, yeah, In Space was the better season for sure, by far. But in terms of characterization, they were ripped off. Like, they were indeed just thrown to the back and was like, all right, y'all just gonna be here, just seat warmers. And that's it. Like, but y'all ain't gonna have nothing to do.
I was able to get a couple people sending me a few. One of them was the 3-team format doesn't work for Power Rangers.
The 3-team format doesn't work?
Yeah.
I like that.
For this one, he gave Ninja Storm as an example.
I'm sorry.
Which leads to another hot take with Ninja Storm, but I'll get to that in a minute. But for this one, like he said, when when we have the 3 Rangers, we start off with 3, then we, as the season goes on, we find more Rangers. In his opinion, he thinks that the finding the Rangers is like a lackluster. It turns out pretty lackluster, and as well as the additional colors that are just like, I guess maybe because we were introduced to a certain color palette, and we retain that color palette for a while, and then when we have the 3 teams, when we have our 5th and 6th, and I guess in terms of RPM, our 7th Rangers, the color palette's just kind of all over the place. Any thoughts on that one?
I have a whole lot to say. I do. I have a lot to say specifically about Ninja Storm. Because anybody that knows me knows I ride for Ninja Storm. Like, Ninja Storm is my shit. Okay? Like, it's top tier for me. So let's be very clear. I am going to be very biased. I'm going to be very biased. I have to disagree wholeheartedly, honestly. Like, I disagree with that. I think that the 3-person team worked perfectly for that series because it was exactly that. It was the way they introduced them in. It was like you had 3 Rangers initially. 2 others came in as, they started out evil. And then, now the only thing I will say was kind of, a little shaky was the fact that, like, it was like 1 minute they were evil because they were being lied to. Then the next minute they were evil because they were turned evil by, they were like being mind controlled. And then even Hunter went the extra mile by being completely just like turned into a zombie and it was attacking everybody and everybody could get it. It was just like a lot was going on. But I think that it worked because it wasn't your conventional way. It wasn't just the, oh yeah, they're just, 1 minute, like a new Ranger is going to come in, be a good guy, and then they're completely nerfed down. I never felt like the Thunder Rangers were nerfed. Were like 1 minute, like they were super strong, and then the next minute they were, weak as shit. I never felt like that with them. And we've had plenty of instances where that was a thing. But I just don't personally feel like that was a thing for the Thunder Rangers. I never felt like that with them. Even when Cam came in as the final member, I always felt like Cam showed how good he was, how competent he was from the very beginning. And that was his whole argument. He was like, I am extremely competent. Why can't I be a Ranger? I'm better than them. So it's just like, I just personally feel like, and then the color palette, it's literally almost the exact opposite of the original team. Like you had the crimson red, navy blue, and green, which are literal colors that are like basically darker shades than what was already there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like,
I have to say with that
I
one,
like it.
I never understood why they had 2 blues and 2 reds. I thought that was kind of weird.
You thought that was weird to have 2 blues and 2 reds?
Yeah.
I didn't think so. I actually liked that they had the 2 because it was like they were 2 different. Well, speaking of for the reds and the blue, for red and blue, they were 2 different schools. So one school, the Thunder Academy, had a darker. They still were going to use those colors, but it just so happened that one was darker than the other. That's how I took it. You know, they were just rival schools, but they used the same colors, but just one was darker than the other.
Yeah, personally, I loved it. Exactly what Brennan was saying. Like, I love the different color palette. It was different. It was it was just completely different. It was something new for like us to see. And I loved it. I loved everything about Ninja Storm. Ninja Storm is my ride or die too. It's definitely on one of my top 5 lists. Like,
okay,
yeah, it's one of my favorites as well. I really enjoyed it. I actually I do not agree with the 3 Ranger thing not working. I think that it works so good because usually more times than not, I feel like we've gotten more equal focus because there are fewer Rangers, and that's great because I want to see as much as I can from these characters. So I've always been all for that.
I agree 100% with that. Like, give me all the characterization because normally, like you said, when we have a 3 Ranger team, and it's the same thing with Dino Thunder and RPM, you know, like when it was just the 3 of them, like, well, RPM not so much because obviously we got Dylan like the second episode, that's when he became the Black Ranger. So obviously it was 4 for a while, and then then whatchamacallit, Ziggy became like the 5th one like real fast too. So we really didn't have that thing with RPM. But with Dino Thunder specifically and Ninja Storm, like it worked because we got those characters, like they developed them so well to the point where it was just like there was no guessing who they were. There was nothing that we had to like make up in our heads to be like, all right, so, they never explained this. So is this a thing? Like, it was never really that for any of those Rangers. They explained them so well and gave them so much to do where there was literally little to nothing to be desired. It was like, everything is on the table. Here you go. Kind of a thing. And I just feel like that works better than a 5-man team. Like straight out the gate, because we know that, as we've seen, as history has served us, normally when we have a 5-man team, a lot of times Rangers don't get their stories told, specifically Yellow. Hello, Gia. So, like someone is always going to get the short end of the stick with a 5-man team. Whereas with 3, everybody had something to do. So I loved it.
I most certainly agree. And like even like with even Ninja Storm, not Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, it was a 3-person team also. And they were like amazing. I'm with you every step of the way. I feel like having 3 is less sorry, going back. Yeah, sorry. I don't know my words right now. But basically, yes, I agree with you. Less means more focus, more storytelling, more like of everything that we loved, especially with like Dino Thunder. We loved the little bantering that went on. And I love how even between Ninja Storm and like Dino Thunder, obviously with Dino Thunder, they became friends towards the end, where Ninja Storm, they obviously already had a common interest, and that's how they all knew each other, right? So I like that. And I like the fact that like, because they were already common, you already knew that they were going to get along to a certain extent. And then the fact that they all like very similar stuff, it made it easy for them to get along. But I like how even though they got along, there was still that like annoyingness between each other in a honest manner where like, you know, like how we had like Mighty Morphin where yes, they were annoyed with each other, but a lot of the times it took being under a spell for them to be like, right. Oh my God. Like that Tweenie always trying to be taking my spotlight, you know? Like, or sort on, like, you know, should know better because I know what's up. Like, you know, it's just like, it's great, but at least with Ninja Storm, it didn't take for them to be under the spell to be like, you're a dimwat. Like, what the heck?
Okay, it's just automatically, I don't like you.
Right? So I love that. It was honest. It was true. Like that's exactly what a true dynamic of a friendship or like of any relationship is. Like, yeah, you love each other, but there is a level of annoyingness that you will find within each other too, you know? And that's real. You're not always going to be perfect with each other. But that doesn't say you love each other any less. It's just that you're annoyed in that moment in time.
Exactly.
So I love it. So that hot take I'm gonna have to disagree with. Sorry.
Facts. Facts. Disagree.
Sorry. We're not trying to hate on your hot takes, but it's just not our hot takes.
This is like, nope, not it. Mm-mm. You said there was another one too, right?
Yeah, you said there was more.
Yeah, I have a couple of them. This is hilarious. Vipra and her Vipari are actually pretty cool.
They were joking, right?
No!
Wait, repeat that? Repeat that? What?
Vipra and her Vipari were actually pretty cool.
Okay.
Like I said, they were joking, right? Like this is a joke, right?
He was dead serious.
I don't know how to handle this.
I don't want to touch this. I don't want to touch this because I'm sound mean. No, I'm not touching this. I'm not touching this. No,
we're just gonna pass on this. We're just gonna pass. Next one.
Oh yeah. Someone, friend of mine, he believed that Cam actually should not have become a ranger.
What?
In Ninja Storm.
What?
You know what?
Okay. I kind of agree with that actually.
I agree with that too, actually.
I
like that idea.
I like that. I do agree with that. Don't get me wrong. Okay. My thoughts on that is that he was just so bratty on wanting to become a ranger that I felt like in a way he didn't earn it. He just got it because he put himself in position that like essentially to obtain it, if that makes sense. Like it didn't come to him, if you will. Like, yeah. Yeah, like I don't know. And I feel like he has so much to do already that his role is so important. He doesn't see it, he doesn't feel it, and he just feels underappreciated. And I don't know why. And then, of course, when he did become a ranger, he had to create another version of himself to help run the ninja ops. So it's like, you still couldn't see how important your role was.
That was my thing. And that's what I was going to say, Lena. It's the fact that, you know, he literally had to create another version of himself to run ninja ops because he was fighting as a ranger when he literally could have just been sitting there being the man behind the desk. Yeah. You know, basically like helping them, you know, exactly. And he still could have been just as important.
Oh, he was so important. He was just being such a brat about it. Like, I'm just like, I feel like, I'm trying to think of a show and it's not coming to my mind right now, but I remember there was a show that's similar to this where, you know, the guy behind the desk was like, held all the power, and it was like awesome because you knew that without him the team would have like failed epically, and he knew it, they knew it, and even though obviously at the end of the day it's very tedious to be like, at the end of the mission. Okay, well, thanks, Cam. That was great help out there. Like, you already knew you were doing the, if you defeat a monster, you knew it was another good day. So to have the Rangers constantly come back being like, great job, Cam. Thank you, Cam. That's very tedious and it's not necessary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
and I mean, like, and just to further, go along with what you said, it's like another good example of that for me of just, the person behind the desk being the one that's like the real savior.
Yeah.
Is literally Felicity in Arrow.
Yes, that's exactly. You
like
got
without
it.
her.
That's exactly who I was trying to think of. Like, it was a show I've seen that was similar to that, and I can't finger it. Yes, that's exactly it.
Yeah. I mean, without her, like, there was literally no way that he could have been able to do his job.
No.
There was no way.
Absolutely not.
So I agree 100%. Like, you don't always have to be on the battlefield, just because, I feel like I could do more good out there than being here. But it's like, without you, they can't do their job. Like, literally, the monsters grow almost every freaking day. And you are the one who created their Zords so that they can fight, and do what they have to do.
Yep.
Like without that, they would get stomped on, literally. They would be stomped on like roaches.
And so I just didn't get it. Like I remember when he was being so whiny about it. I was just like, what the frick is the problem? You're literally the mastermind behind everything.
Yeah.
You created the morphers. You created ninja ops. You created like so many things. Like, you are the brains. Like, you have all the praise in the world.
Yeah.
The only thing is that you just didn't want to hear from your team. Just say that.
Yeah.
Like, it was just so annoying. Like, so yeah, I agree with that hot take. I don't think Cam should have became a Ranger. I think
I don't either.
Someone else, someone new. I don't know, like maybe another like student that was found from like the disaster with Ninja when the Ninja Academy fell. Like, I don't know.
No, for real.
Know.
Like, I would have loved that, honestly.
I don't know. The fact that was a dream of his, I thought that it was cool that he got to accomplish it. But at the same time, I also think like it wasn't necessary, just because like they still could have had it be his dream, but it just not have been in the cards for that to happen. He was still a good enough, a very vital part of the team as it is, because they couldn't operate without him.
But
so I'm on two sides with this one.
But the thing is, becoming a Ranger is not necessarily truly a dream, because I feel like I don't think. Okay, how do I say this? It wasn't like they grew up being like, oh yeah, Power Rangers are real. Like, like you had like someone to envy, you had someone to look. Okay, it's not like SPD where they had teams of Rangers before them that they can actually analyze and be like, this is what being a Ranger is like. Where like in this dimension, Cam was the one that created the Rangers. It was a myth until he created those morphers and created those suits and did all the things, right? So I feel like he didn't necessarily want to become a Ranger until he saw the actions that they were in. Then he had the case of FOMO.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
So yeah, like it's not necessarily a dream. It was just a case of FOMO, in my opinion. So yeah.
I honestly, I agree with that. I agree 100%. 100% with that, Lena. Like, yeah, I agree. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, like, and I would even say this too, with, as we brought up SPD, Boom character, like the character Boom, it could have easily been a situation where it was something like that.
Yeah.
Where that character, he had a one-off moment of him being like, I want to be a Ranger. And it was terrible for him. Like,
and for him,
easily been that.
And for him, it was a dream because he's seen it before. And like, he's been in so many situations where he's seen so many people become Rangers. Like, you know, like even when he was in Ninja Steel, he always wanted to be a Ranger then too, because he worked on it. Like he was, you know what I mean? He was in a situation where he was always around Rangers.
Well, so, that's just Kelson's character in general. Like he's just, he stays always wanting to be a Ranger. He finally got his wish and then just still.
I know, right? But like, you know, it's kind of like that. Like that I can understand. And exactly what you said, just having a one-off moment. And he realized it was just not the case for him. But like, I love that. See, that him becoming a Ranger, I can applaud. And I can actually agree with your argument there, Will, where it was his dream. Because in that, for Boom and for how do I say his name again?
Kelson,
that was literally his dream, was to become a Ranger. And he got his moment. And it was beautiful. And I actually cried for him because I knew that's how much I wanted it. It was like in that moment, like I could understand that because like that was literally a dream come true for him. But for Cam, he was just being a whiny little baby having a case of FOMO. Get the heck out of here.
You know, he was wilding. Like, and the way that he would like talk to the other Rangers, I'm just like,
yeah.
Like, bruh, hold on now. It's giving real like, hold on now. You talking too much. You talking too much because you about to get hit. Like, I need you to chill out. Like, let's be very clear. The Rangers who actually defeated Lothar was Shane, Dustin, and Tori. You got your ass kicked and your powers taken from you. So let's be very clear. Before you start trying to want to throw shade, like, you didn't save the world, baby. Let's be very clear.
Yeah.
So
I'm just saying, like,
just saying.
He somehow, we don't know where, but his what is it? Like, it's not narcissism because he's not a narcissistic character, but like his ego, there you go. His ego just got
himself.
Way too big for himself. Like,
he lets I feel like he let his intelligence, the fact that he is literally the smartest person in the room, like overtake how he treated people.
Yeah.
So, like, like it gave him an inflated sense of himself.
Yeah. So that was very annoying of him. But yes, I agree with that hot take. Cam should never became a Ranger.
I agree 100%.
Next one.
Next one. What's the next one?
This is a personal one for me.
Okay.
The Turbo movie was fucking awesome.
Yes.
You in this Turbo movie. Oh my God.
Yes, it was.
Oh my God.
You freaking love Turbo that movie. And I will, like, I'll take that to my dying day.
Oh my God. Listen, Will, you know, and you will probably appreciate this, but I did go back and rewatch it recently. And I'm not gonna hold you. I did actually thoroughly enjoy it. I enjoyed it, and there was just certain things about it that I was like, I kind of rock with this. Now I still hate Justin. Like, Justin still, he still irked my nerves all throughout that movie.
Everyone, I think that is a hot take in itself. Like, like, because everyone else agreed that Justin became a Ranger is probably going to be a no.
First of all, Tanya's expression to Justin being a Ranger is the moment. Like, it is just absolutely the best thing ever, because homegirl was looking like every one of us. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like for real?
No.
This is supposed to be the Blue Ranger?
No.
Fuck out of here.
No. And to be honest with you, I don't. Obviously, that's probably why there's never another like Kid Ranger again. But like,
yes.
Like, I understand the idea that anyone can become a ranger kind of dealio, you know? But I think what threw me off was the fact that when he morphs, he's like fully grown. So it's just sort of like,
yes.
No, I'm sorry. If he morphed and he was like that avatar from Dawn Brothers, okay, I can handle that because that's literally his size. Like, he's
oh
for
my
real
god!
his size. And you know how many good like lines they could have written for that? Like, where the villain's like, "Oh, look at you, you're a kid." Like, you know, like, what are you gonna do? Hurt me? Like, I just feel like there could have been so many good moments with that had they actually left his side being his side instead of him being like a fully grown ass man. And that brings me to the fact that I will say this: Blake Foster shading Mike Olaskey about not ever having to morph. I'm like, bro, you didn't actually morph either.
I mean,
like you became a whole ass adult. Okay, that's not you. That was not you.
That was him morphing, child.
Like, yeah, that's not you.
He morphed into into a grown man paying bills and mortgages. That's what he did. Like, how the hell he just became a whole 6 foot tall, like 6 foot tall ranger? Like, what the hell?
Right.
But no,
I was gonna say, I think as far as the secret identity thing, that kind of helped. Because there's no way that you would think that Justin is a Power Ranger because the Power Ranger looks like an adult.
Like, I got the idea.
Don't try to make that work.
Yeah,
don't try to hold space for that.
I was like, I get that, but like at the same time, that doesn't explain all the other like Rangers who's actually literally their height.
Like, and you know, they had in previous, because they only did it because of the Sentai footage, but and then in other Sentai series there were Kid Rangers like Kiba Ranger, who was the White Ranger from Mighty Morphin, and King Ranger, who was the Gold Ranger from Zeo. Like, they were actual little people. Wait, Gold was a little guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, like, they could. Maybe they could have done like the American footage could have been little Justin, and then maybe he had a power up form that made him tall when they did Sentai footage. I don't know.
See, that would have been fine if that was the case. But like, the thing is, when he's morphed into a whole ass grown man with mortgages and like bills. So that was like a no for me. Like, that doesn't tell me that I could have became a ranger. That just means that I need to be somehow morph into that 6 foot dude.
Right. It's given real, like, so in order for you to be a ranger, you must meet these requirements. Okay.
Right? Like,
without it.
Yeah. Especially when you're a child, you don't make sense of that. Like, that does not make sense to you, you know? Obviously, as an adult, we know that, like, they did it because of Sentai footage and, you know, whatever reasons, right? And it could potentially be the whole identity thing. But, like, as a child, you thought he was gonna be another, like, miniature, like, ranger.
Yeah.
You were expecting a ranger.
Now, I will say, if they led with this as an expectation, then it would make sense.
Right.
But because, you know, we always knew, and I think that the reason why Justin didn't work, honestly, for me personal, and this is me talking. Now, I'm not talking for anybody else, but for me personally, the reason why Justin never worked for me was literally because A, I just hate children in Power Rangers, and B, even as a kid, I hated children in Power Rangers. But that's A, and B, just the idea of a kid being a ranger for me just never worked, because that's what Big Bad Beetleborgs was for me. You know, like, they led with that expectation of the Beetleborgs being, you know what I'm saying, being the little kids who grew to be, you know, adult sized. And that was the thing, you know, like, that was the whole point of the show. Whereas with Turbo, like, it was literally just these teenagers hanging around with a 12-year-old kid. That is not appealing to me. I'm sorry. And I mean, and that's not even start on the fact that the original team were graduating from high school. Like they're pretty much they're on their adult status at this point. And they're still hanging around with a 12-year-old. Like that's not appealing to me.
Which in hindsight, that's really creepy.
Extremely creepy.
Like, so, not that they chose it, but like when you really think about it now, that's really creepy.
It's creepy. And it's just like, come on, y'all. Like, I get the idea. I get what you're trying to do. But, yeah, no.
Absolutely.
Y'all can kind of miss me with that.
Like, it was never right when a teenager was hanging out with a 12-year-old. But now you have, like, young adults hanging out with a 12-year-old.
Right. Yeah, no.
No.
No. No. Justin was a huge mistake. And I am so sorry for the people who do love Justin. I know y'all, like, listen, that's why I kind of don't like talking about Justin sometimes, because I'm like, I know Justin actually has a fan base. Like, he really does. And I'm like, listen, I am so glad y'all like that character. Somebody has to, but I'm not that person.
Absolutely.
I've never liked Justin. And to me, he hurt the movie. He really did. Like, he hurt the movie because I was not a fan of that character. And that, like we talked before, there's so many things that like I would have loved to have introduced that I wish they would have like done in the actual movie that would have made the movie make more sense. Like, I still say, and this is just my own headcanon, the Zeo crystal became way too fucking strong. It made them weak as hell, and they were like, they're about to die, so they had no choice but to like use Billy's technology to, convert the Zeo powers. Well, basically like channel the Zeo powers through it as like a conduit to like be like the gateway to get them, to be able to make them be able to use the power without being hurt. That is always going to be my go-to as the reason as to why the turbo powers changed. Not just that randomly they were sitting in the command center and was like, we're just going to just randomly create something, not knowing that they were creating cars. I'm not doing that. Like, that is the biggest cop-out ever. And that is one of the reasons why I hated that movie. Because that scene was stupid. It is the worst scene ever. And I still feel like it's the worst scene ever. Because literally they are walking towards these cars. And Tanya literally said, these are cars. And Zordon is like, no, but they're extraordinary cars. Are you kidding me? Talking about they have what, like, all this velocity and all this stuff with turbo technology, and they're equipped with all this fancy weaponry. Where? Did you?
I mean, they did grow.
Will, did you see them shoot any missiles out of their cars? Did their cars shoot blasters and lasers?
I don't think so.
Did they? No. No, they did not. They were cars, just like Tanya said they were. So no.
Damn minivan.
No, Adam had a whole minivan. At least Tanya had an SUV.
Oh, she had a Jeep. Okay.
Yeah, she had a Jeep. Adam had a minivan. Adam kept getting shit on. He kept getting shit on. And I felt so bad for Adam. First, homeboy had a frog. Then he got a minivan. Like, they kept doing that boy wrong. I really do feel like they were, like, Japan was over there creating their stuff. Like, we're going to personally attack Johnny Young Bosch. Like, we are going to attack him, and we're going to make him look bad. That's just my personal headcanon, I think, but whatever. But is there another one?
Oh, Kendall was the true leader of the Dino Charge Rangers.
I agree.
I wouldn't say she was a leader.
She told them what to do.
All the time. All the time. And remember, she hired them to work at the restaurant there. She was basically their boss there. Like, she basically ran their lives.
She kind of did. You're right. You're right. Okay, I can agree with that. Okay, all right. Y'all got
I'm
me.
like,
Y'all
Kendall
got
was
me.
high key. She was like the leader. She just made Tyler feel like he was the leader because, you know, she just needs to stroke some egos, but like, she was really the leader. She knew what to do.
Now, child. Now, when you say stroking, I'm just sitting there like, I'm pretty sure she wanted to stroke something else. Listen,
those were like young.
Cute.
He was a young boy. She was like in her like late 20s, right?
She was in her mid-20s and he was in his early 20s. It ain't nothing crazy.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Like, he was like 19, 20, and she was like 25. Like, it's cool.
But
like,
I think in real life, like, she's actually younger.
Well, yeah.
Right,
She was younger. She was just playing older.
Yeah, like way younger in real life. But yeah, it's hilarious.
And I'm gonna give. I will say though, I will give her props because homegirl was fighting in those heeled boots, and she was legit doing her own stunts. So props.
Yes.
Props, because fighting in heels, absolutely, we love that.
Yep.
So yes, Kendall should be the leader because she was fighting in heel boots. Just saying.
I think she is the leader. I don't think she should be. I think she is the leader. No matter what anyone thinks, I think she is the leader. They just don't realize how much she's in control.
No, for real. Yeah, I agree.
You know,
like she really was running shit.
Yeah. She ran the museum, she ran the Rangers, she ran the cafe, like everything. So yeah.
I forgot to I wanted to go into this other one since we were talking about Turbo earlier, but I'll do it now. During the Turbo movie, Tommy should have just laid into Kimberly for the Dear John letter.
Yes. I agree, because you know why? Personally, because I think that was the first time they saw each other in a while. Then my question is, how did her and Jason end up in a boat together? Like, he should have questioned that, but he did not. For me, I was like, wait, how did Jason end? Because didn't Jason like join the Peace Corps or something, like left, and like the others didn't even come back when he came back? Like, I'm just saying, like, I would have had questions as to why they're together.
Shall listen.
Like, I want to believe that they were just friends hanging out, scuba diving, but I personally don't think that is the case, because I just don't think so. Everything in me tells me that like that is not the case. They were definitely hooking up.
Child, Jason was scuba diving in Kimberly's ocean is what he was doing.
He definitely was.
I mean, that very well could have been the case. Yeah,
I think so. Like, I felt like he should have been like, oh wait, what were you guys doing? You know, like just some acknowledgement that like, yeah, even though they're not together, but it's just odd that like, how do your ex-girlfriend and your ex-leader end up in the same boat in the same situation?
Yeah.
Just say. Like, I would question. I think that would be odd. I'd be like, wait, what? How do you guys end up together?
Quite odd.
mean, like, I don't know. Maybe this is like some headcanon. Like, perhaps the original 5 did still keep in contact, and wherever Jason went in between ZL and the Turbo movie, he just caught up with her. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be that they were dating.
I don't think that is the case. Well, I genuinely think that. Okay, how do I say this? At your workplace, or do you have any friends from high school that you're really in good contact with?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Like, do you see them regularly?
Yes.
Okay, never mind then.
I was going to say honestly, like, and this is no shade, but to Will's point of like, say for example, of like you have the friends that just constantly stayed in contact with each other all this time. That's mighty odd that all 5 of them kept in contact with each other and no one bothered to contact Tommy.
That is actually a good point. That is
no one bothered to contact him.
Because you know why? They're all like, that douche came in and Zordon made him a leader. They all thought it. They definitely all had a conversation. But you know what?
But remember,
they had a fireplace.
Real quick.
Sorry, go on.
Really quick. Remember, Kimberly said that they wanted to surprise everybody coming in unannounced.
Yeah, but why would they want to surprise them? Like, they don't even keep in contact with anybody else. And it did make sense. And on top of that, Kimberly doesn't even know that Kat and Tommy are dating. Even though, yeah, she Dear John him, doesn't mean that she may not necessarily still have, like, you know what, doesn't matter. Just because you Dear John somebody doesn't mean you still don't feel some sort of way. I would feel some sort of way, even if I let that shit go.
I still say at the end of the day, they done moved on and was like, fuck Tommy. And they were just like, look, like, we gonna have our group chat. Yeah, we gonna surprise them, but he's not in the group chat.
But
like,
Tommy, to be honest with you, I feel like that might not have been the case. I don't think they were really surprising him. I think that was just an excuse. They're like, what we're gonna tell him, because now that because you have to remember, they were stuck in the dungeon for a while. They're like, fuck, what are we gonna say? Because like, now that the Rangers are gonna be alerted, like, we need to come up with a plan. Okay, we're just gonna tell them we're coming in on a scuba diving boat because that's the only way to get onto this island, that wherever they're at, to surprise them. Come on.
Well, shoot, I would definitely go as far as to be like, you know, they were probably on that inside Diva Talks' ship being like, all right, so here's the plan, right? So what we gonna do is we just gonna say that we were just visiting, you know what I'm saying? Because we were gonna be in Angel Grove anyway, so we just didn't want to just pop up and, you know, and then he find out that we here, and then now it's real fishy, you know what I'm saying? So we don't want nobody, you know, to be all like in our business. Right. We over here trying to like hang out and trying to kick it and trying to visit Billy. Well, Billy on Aquastar, but trying to visit Trini and Zach, you know what I'm saying? So we just can't be, you know, absolutely, we can't be alerting nobody. So
you also have to remember, they were trying to scuba dive in, right? But it's like, where are you scuba diving to? Like, where
trying to come in Angel.
Huh?
It was just an activity.
Was it?
What? Right.
Why else would they be scuba diving?
Apparently,
trying to come in unannounced.
Exactly. Trying to come in unannounced. It was not an activity. Like, did you not notice, like, how far out they were from shore?
Mm-hmm.
And that boat was tiny. That was not a boat you go scuba diving on. How was that boat gonna hold all their oxygen tank and everything? Like, that boat was gonna sink.
It was the way they jumped into the water though. They like belly flopped in. Like, they didn't even dive. They just jumped.
That is actually so true. Oh my god. Like, all the things, like, they were on a rowboat, because usually when you're scuba diving, you need a boat with you need a bigger boat with like an actual motor, right? So that way they can get far out enough so they can actually like dive right into the water and get, like, you know. But they were like shore. They were on a rowboat. I don't think that thing even had a motor. Come on.
Time and budget, girl. Time and budget. They ain't had a budget for one of them boats, girl. They was like, child, we on a budget. We ain't got no money. We use all of our money in making Lara go and and Malibu.
Oh my God. All I'm saying is they were definitely not including Tommy. And I agree with you there, Brennan. Tommy was left the fuck out.
I love it. Do you have any more, Will?
Let's see. A friend of mine, he thinks that Lightspeed Rescue had some of the best monster plots and designs.
I agree with that. Hands down, I do. Honestly, I think the monsters were the better part of the show. But go ahead, you were saying something?
That is a very good point. I remember just like the infighting with Queen Banshira's whole group. Queen Banshira just being the most cold-hearted bitch that I have ever seen. And then like going to kill her son. Oh my God. Diabolical, I freaking loved. I love the way he looked. And Olympus was Impus was the baby and Olympus was the adult.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yep.
Olympus was creepy looking with that white face.
First of all, let's be very clear. Queen Banshira's titties were sitting, honey. Let me tell you. I don't know what it is with these Japanese people when they're designing these monster suits, but they are always having these women's titties sitting upright. They are always on point. I am like, these demons, these monsters, like, they know what's up. Like, they know the people are going to be looking. And they are just like, absolutely. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Sis's hips were snatched. Her chest was sitting. Honey, Queen Banshira was on, like, she was on point. I'm like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But I will say, though, when she was sitting there, where her body wasn't formed all the way, and she was looking like somebody's turd hanging there.
Oh, wow.
You couldn't tell me she did not look like somebody's turd sitting there hanging in that dungeon. Child, I'm like, oh, child, y'all ain't had to do Queen Banshira like that. I'd be mad at the Rangers too if I was trying to get my body back and I end up looking like that. I would be mad at the Rangers too. I'd be ready to fight them too. I'm just saying. But she ain't had to do Viper like that. Viper was the worst part of the show. But she did not have to kill her the way she did. Homegirl.
I mean, the way that freaking Viper was react, like you would have. How do I want to say this? Like she went. It sounded like she went out on a good foot.
Wow. Wow.
She went out getting off.
I mean, it did kind of sound like that. I'm not gonna hold you. No, I'm not gonna hold you. It did kind of sound like she was enjoying it. Did kind of sound like it. Like Queen Banshira, no! Oh no! Oh, child. Oh, no. But no, they did have some bomb designs. I think one of my favorites, honestly, was in between Diabolico and Loki. Because Loki with that big bazooka, like, yo, Loki was it. Even though he was dumb, but he was it, though. Like, Loki was the man. I loved his monster design. I always thought his was really dope. But yeah, like, I agree. I agree with that hot take. I think that, yeah, I agree. For sure.
This one is from our friend Aaron, ASD Classified. He thinks that a non-MMPR season is necessary for the improvement of the franchise. And if this flops, the franchise will not recover without taking a long hiatus.
Wow. Oh, child. Honestly, I need to sit with that for a second. Oh, child. I gotta sit with that one because what do you think? Like, well, how do you feel about it? What do you think?
Actually, I agree with that. I can see that because if, and God forbid this happens, if with this new show and then with the film, if it doesn't get the proper coverage or reviews, or the public doesn't take to it, then it'll be a situation where like Hasbro's gonna be like, okay, so we tried this again. Well, I guess for the first time, we tried this and it's just not hitting. So it's not worth it. Like that could be what happens.
Right.
And then, it may be a situation where it needs to go away for a while. And I believe that we actually talked about this some time ago, like a while ago. That same sentiment of maybe it needs to go away for a while for it to, be picked up in another 15, 20 years, and maybe it'll work again then. But
I agree.
yeah, I could see that. I really hope that that's not the case. I'm hoping that whatever they're cooking up for us, we won't hear people that are not Power Rangers fans be like, "Oh, do you hear about Power Rangers on Netflix? That shit's hot." Like oh my God, I hope that happens. Oh my God. But if it doesn't, we might lose it for a while.
Yeah, honestly, I agree 100% with that. Because like I said, I had to sit there and really think about it. Like I had to sit with that. And I honestly agree. It's taking a huge leap, especially with the new universe. We don't really know if the new universe is going to have anything to do with MMPR or not. But say hypothetically, if it doesn't, and it's something completely different, and it's basically telling this whole brand new story, that doesn't have anything to do with MMPR, that would be honestly, it's the risk we need. It is a huge risk, but it's a risk that we need. And it's honestly the risk that no matter what, even if it does fail, I feel like it needs to happen because we need to stop being safe. And I feel like that's the reason why Saban never really jumped off with Saban, because everything that they did was safe. They always kept the same flow, the same thing every single time. And while that's okay with, starting it up, that's okay while you're trying to start it. But at some point, you got to grow. You got to grow. And, just staying in that little box, in that little area, it stunted the growth of the show. And, the part that scares me, honestly, and I hope that this is not going to be the case. I pray that this is not going to be the case. But the part that scares me is that it's too late. That's the part that scares me. It scares me to think that it's too late for us to grow. Like, this is where we are. Like, no matter what we do, it is always going to have that mind frame of this is that random little kid show from the 90s that, blah, 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 blah. And no one is ever going to take it seriously. No one is ever going to be like, oh yeah, I could go to the movies and go watch that. Like, I'm going to treat this like a Marvel movie or like a show on Disney Plus, something like that, where it's like, it's the talk of the town. Like, yo, did you see that episode of Power Rangers though? Like, that's what I would dream of it becoming. But it's going to have to take that risk, like Aaron said. It's going to have to take that risk that may have to end up not having anything to do with MMPR. It may have to take that risk. But the gag is, if it ends up flopping and it doesn't do the things that we want it to do or that it should do, it may be a situation where we might end up losing Power Rangers for a while. It may go on hiatus for, several years at a time, and I don't necessarily believe that that's a bad idea. I don't, give it time to recollect, give it time for it to fix itself. I mean, hell, Japan did it with Kamen Rider, and right now Kamen Rider is one of the best-selling live action shows in Japan right now. Kamen Rider started out, being, it's okay. But then it came back better than ever. They retired it. They not retired it, but they let it go for a bit, reworked some things, brought it back, and now it's one of the top performing shows live action shows in tokusatsu in Japan. Sometimes you need to take a break. Sometimes you do. So, I agree. I actually agree with Aaron with that one.
This is I think that was kind of like a perfect exit, but I actually kind of like this one too. I guess this will be the last one. Someone sent me this. Disney is to blame for the Neo Saban era.
Now, child, that actually is funny.
Disney is to blame for the Neo Saban era.
I mean,
they lie?
I kind of agree with
it. But did they lie though?
Yeah.
This is an interesting one because we already know that Disney just had no desire to have the property anymore. So if they would have kept it, like what they have done with it? Would they have just shelved it? Would they have I don't know, would they have just kept producing and churning out seasons with, little to no promotion? How would that have, what would have happened? I wonder.
Honestly, I really don't even want to think of what would happen because, well, hold on. Because let me see. Going back to Disney and what they had going on at that time, Disney, honestly, where they lacked literally was promotion. That's really where they lacked. The show itself, the resources they put into it, the show itself, all these things about it, from what we actually visually watched, there was really nothing. There weren't seasons that they gave us, I feel like, an even keel. Like they gave us an even thing in terms of like, they weren't afraid to step out of the box and try something new. Like every season felt like something that they were trying to do. That was something that they were like, "Ooh, let's try this. Ooh, let's try that." Like it always kind of felt like they were trying to do stuff, but sometimes they didn't land well. Operation Overdrive. Sometimes their ideas weren't that great, but they tried, and I feel like that's the point. Is that it always felt like with Disney they were trying to reinvent the show every single season. There were certain new things that they were trying to do. They were trying to incorporate new types of feels and stuff like that. Because honestly, Mystic Force, depending on who you asked, Some people loved it, some people hated it. But one thing that we can honestly say for sure, Mystic Force really tried to hone in on that Harry Potter, honey. Because they had goblins, they had ghouls, they had fairies, they had, they really were trying to hone in on that magic theme. And sometimes the show didn't a lot for it, but like they really tried. And you can tell that there was an effort that was being made, more so of an effort than what we've been getting, honestly. Not saying that, not including the Hasbro stuff, but with the Neo Saban, there was hardly no effort being done. It was just literally with Super Mega Force, it was just show them in suit for 30 minutes. Well, not just Super Mega Force 2, but let's just show them just wearing their suit for 30 minutes. The kids love it. They just love seeing them fight. So who cares about their personal lives? Who cares? We just want to see them fight. That was the idea. So I do think that Disney, if Disney would have promoted the show better and they weren't being held back by soccer moms, I do think the show would have been just fine. And I think that Disney had Power Rangers at the wrong time. That's another thing too. It's a timing thing, because now look at Disney Plus. What do you see? Moms are letting moms are letting their children watch all kinds of shit now. You got, Hawkman, Hawkeye, and Hawk Daughter. You got Miss Marvel. You got all these shows now. WandaVision, Loki. You got all these shows that have all these fight scenes now and all this fancy fight choreography that kids are watching. So Disney just bought Power Rangers at the wrong time, honestly. Because if they had them now, I could see Power Rangers being on a little piece of Disney Plus and them doing all the fancy choreography and stuff like these shows. I could see it easily. And I could see it being filmed in the same format. But it just got bought at the wrong time. It was during the time where parents were still on that, well, little Timmy can't watch this because this is too violent. It's going to turn him into a murderer. Honey, if Timmy was a murderer, he was going to be a murderer to begin with. Homeboy was sitting here stabbing dogs and cats and shit. If Timmy was going to be a murderer, he was going to be a murderer regardless, okay? Power Rangers wasn't going to do it. Nope. I'm just saying.
Or it could be some childhood trauma. So...
Okay.
So you better figure out how you're treating your children.
Boom. Parenting. Hello. Or it could be the case of childhood trauma where little Timmy was drowning at the lake while the people who were supposed to be watching him was having sex, and now he then came back as a little piece of killer. I mean, I'm just saying, it's still it ain't got nothing to do with Power Rangers. Yes, I just use who's that? Jason or
okay.
Michael Myers. One of the two.
No, Jason.
It was Jason? Okay, yes. But I know I just used that as an example, and that's terrible. But I'm just saying, these things don't have anything to do with with the tea in China. Like Lena said, it's about parenting. Yeah. If you don't want your child to watch it, then don't let them watch it.
Like a perfect example, Ted Bundy. Y'all know that story. Y'all know how he came to be.
Exactly.
He did not watch Power Rangers growing up.
It would have had nothing to do with him.
Nope.
Because he was destined to be a killer.
Yep. Exactly. So parenting, or he was just destined to be a killer. So
exactly. It was the stuff around him in his immediate area and how he was being treated.
Yeah,
is what turned him into a murderer. It had nothing to do with what he was watching.
Nope, absolutely not. He just had mommy issues, and he took it out on all the females that had nothing to do with his mommy.
All the women, they had nothing to do with this. Nothing to do with his mother.
Absolutely.
So y'all can nip that in the bud right now. Sometimes that whole soccer mom thing just really grinds my gears. Because we could have had some damn good villains. Because Lord Zed was probably one of the best villains we ever had.
But yeah, those soccer moms are allowing their kids to watch Marvel and DC stuff.
Right.
I mean, but to be fair, those soccer moms today were the kids that maybe watched Power Rangers back in the day.
That's true. That is a good point, Will. That is a very good point. That is a very good point. Because now it's like, whatever.
Right.
For real. all of us should be having some children. We at the age of it. We all at the age of having children.
We are fucking grown. Oh my god.
We are grown.
Oh, I forgot. Oh my god, you're right. We're fucking grown.
We are grown ass
all
people.
Right. On that note, that was really sad. We should probably end this episode now.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for listening. Honestly, now I'm gonna go home and probably stare at myself in the mirror and cry. Because I'm just like,
oh my god.
But
that was a little depressing.
that was a sad way to end this episode. Like, thanks. I'm now being reminded that I'm an old motherfucker now, you know?
No, not even that we're old, like that we should have our life together. We should have a property. We should have some children. We should have
right.
We should have been either divorced or have a loving partner. Like,
right. We should be looking like Justin when he grew up.
Right, we did not. We definitely look nothing like Justin. We actually looked like Justin when he was a child.
Yes. Yes.
We aged really well.
We aged really well. We did. We're just we're just tall young people. That's all. Oh God, but no, like, thank you all for listening. Seriously, like, this has been a fun episode, and thank you for everybody that have literally sent in all of their stuff or who DM'd us and was just like, hey, this is my hot take and stuff, because we wouldn't have been able to do this episode without you.
Absolutely.
So thank you all so much. And for those of you who are listening for the first time, I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you continue listening. To those of you who've been listening forever, thank you for continuing to listen. And once again, my name is Brandon.
My name is Lena.
And my name is Will.
And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.